Page 44, Jerry the Juggler. On page 41, they got some racing cars for you. They want you to put in the total number of beats on each racing car. And they're telling you that a quarter note gets a count, which is kind of important because if you don't know what gets a count, you don't know how many beats are in them. So it's like the first race car has 4 half notes. Well, a half note gets 2 counts, so you can figure that out. It's 4 times 2 is 8, so it's 8 counts. You go through. If you have any questions, you let me know. On page 42, we got some radials we got to deal with. They say each one is in a different major key. They want you to write the name of the key in the space. For instance, 1 flat is the key of F major, right? You know all these? If you don't know, ask me, but we've covered them in the lessons over and over and over, and hopefully now you're doing the scales on these. At least the scale for the piece you're working on at the time. On page 43, we got some tea kettles to deal with. Here they want you to put the name of the key somewhere in the tea kettle, in the handle somewhere. It's like it was on page 42. You're dealing with key signatures again. You can do that, I hope. If you have questions, you're welcome to ask. And that leads us up to page 44. We have another new note. This is the D. This is underneath the first ledger line. Underneath. We had C is 2 ledger lines where the D is right there. So we've had all of these notes from here to here. We've had all of these notes in between now in the music. I'm trusting that you know what these notes are. If you don't, I would encourage you to go back to book 1 and go through it again slowly and drill yourself on the names of the notes. Review all the lessons, review everything. However, I'm going to assume you got all that okay and we're ready to go on. So let's talk about what this juggler's doing. It is about 2 pages long, treble and bass clef, no sharps or flats in the key signatures. We're in the key of C major, so you need to go do the scale on C major. I got a video on it, and again, it's the trill exercise that's the important part of that right now. At common time, or 4/4 time for the time signature, and I see quarter notes and eighth notes, we can deal with this. We're moving around a little bit, so we got to deal with that. Now, right hand first, you're here. 1, 2, and during the rest, you come up here. 3, 1, and 2, and. And this just reach up. Because, and going from the first line to the second line, you got to go from here to here. So I'm stretched so I don't go as far. If I do this and come, I'm moving further. So I'm here, I'm a little closer. And then I can just lift up. Now at the end of the second line, I'm here. Now I want to come down to here. No, just too much. I'm going to use thumb on the first one because it's closer. And then I can use third finger because they're repeated notes. And it's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. You get that? Okay. Then on page 45, into the first line, you're here. And then you reach down like you were at the beginning. Now at the end of the third line on page 45, you're up here again. But now you're only coming down to here. So you can reach that and then claps. Yeah. And then left hand, well, you're starting here. So it's 1, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and. You got 2 beats rest. Come back up and do it again. Okay. Third line. Here, a B and a D, 1, 2, and then both flatted. They don't need the natural signs because the flat's only good for that measure, but it doesn't hurt having it there. Just know it's naturals. Here. Back up. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Top of page 45. Then 1, 3 again. 1, 3 again. This is very common fingering for these. When you get these notes like this next to each other, we do this 1, 3, 2, 4. You get that quite a bit, so that's fine. And then you're back to what you were doing at the beginning. Put the hands together. That's here. And as this is playing, this is coming up. As this is playing, this is going down. On the third line, there's just quarter note. Okay. Top of page 45. Back to what you were doing at the beginning. So you go through and put the hands together. Then go back through your hard parts and get rid of the hesitation so it's a steady beat. Keep it as slow as you need to, doesn't matter, but a steady beat. And we'll think about the articulation. We have slurs and staccatos. Yeah. You're just up on that. And on this staccato, be careful, because when you push up, you'll tend to play it louder. Because you pushed up, don't. The natural accent is on the first beat. So make sure that these staccatos are not necessarily loud. The third line down, the right hand's staccato, the left hand's not. So this stays down until you play that. Don't. No. Leave it down. It's like there's a slur between those notes. All the way through. There, and till you get to the last measure of the first line, you're here. Fermata, you just hang on to that to whatever feels right. I'll do it with a metronome. I'll hold it 4 counts instead of 2, and then you go on like you were at the beginning. Once you have the articulation sort of under control, and we think about the dynamics. Here, it's going to be pretty much both hands. In P, it's mezzo piano at the beginning, sort of soft. When you're down to the third line, you come up a little bit to MF. Mezzo forte is sort of loud. Top of page 45, in the second measure, you have a crescendo. That means gradually get louder. You're going to go all the way up to loud. Don't be loud until the half note. So be careful. So the second measure there, you're here, you're moderately loud. A little louder. A little louder. There. That's loud. Plus the ritardando, you slow down a little bit. So that line is. And then, after the fermata, you lift up and go back to moderately soft like you were at the beginning. The last line is very loud. This last line is like a coda. A coda is another section. You see the double bars at the end of the third line? So we're going into a new section. It's a tail piece, a tag piece, is an afterthought. So the piece really ended at the third line here. That's the end of the piece. But this coda is an afterthought, and it's very loud. Fortissimos, 2 Fs, very loud. That is really loud. And you'll notice that those are together. These are together. See, they're overlapping now here, so be careful on that one. And then finally the speed. Allegretto is that fun speed. I call it the fun speed. It's between moderato and allegro, somewhere in there. But how fast can you do the eighth notes accurately? And that, don't go faster than that. Come on. One way of playing it. You don't have to play it that way. You don't copy me. You get into it. You take it at different speed you want. Try different things out and see how you get into the music. Now, if you're really struggling with it, then take it a section at a time. Work on one section at a time. You see on page 44 at the end of the second line, there's double bars. That's telling you you're going into a new section. Well, that means the first two measures, or the first two lines, are one section. So work on those and get those. And then when you get those, then you go to the next section. And the next section is the next two lines, because if you look at the end of the first line on page 45, a double bars again. So that's the end of that section. So work on the second section. Then you're going back into the first section like you had before. You should already be able to play that. So then you just work on the coda at the end. You can take the longer pieces a section at a time. You break them up and you work on them that way. Don't always start it at the beginning and go through the piece. That's a mistake a lot of people make. You gotta tackle or decide, get a strategy on how you're going to work on it. I'll talk more and more about that as we get more and more into the other books and the pieces get more complicated. Let's play this together very slowly and check all the notes and the rhythms. I'm not going to do any dynamics. I can't slow down. I'm going to hold the half note fermata 4 counts instead of 2 because I got to stay with the metronome. So I'll give us 4 counts and let's just check the notes and the rhythms. 1, 2, ready, go. And 4 and. And. Hold, go on. And 4 and. Four and. Two, 3, 4, off.